Your services are no longer necessary. In fact, we're going to promote you to customer and make you the most important person at the company. In other words, we're going to open up the entire job market for you. What they're really saying is, you're fired. Have you ever heard those words? Well, let's pod about it. Oh, yeah, welcome to the Word to the Wise. I'm glad you're back again, and this is your first time, then welcome for the very first time here on the Word to the Wise podcast with the exclamation point. You are tuned in right now to the funkiest show this side of the Pecos. Who, me? I'm your tour guide and also your liaison, if you will. Got something I want to talk to you guys about today. Yes, 3 ways. There are 3 ways for you to be able to lose a job and to leave a job. Number 1 is you quit. And that happens many, many times. And trust me, it may not have been a good fit for you anyway. I believe that sometimes your job that you are on may be standing in the way of your true blessing. So walking away from a toxic environment, one that didn't bode well with you anyway, it wasn't for you, it wasn't nurturing, and it just gave you that sick feeling on Sunday night, Monday morning, when you said, man, I got to go back to that place one more time. And you told yourself, I'm going to start putting in some applications. And you did, and you quit. And you walked away. It was some nervousness. Why? Because change is uncomfortable. Change is inevitable. Change is always coming. Yes, change is always just around the corner. Everybody is in 3 facets of change. Number 1 is you're going through it. So if you're going through hell, keep going, don't stop. Number 2 is, well, hell and change is around the corner. But that 3rd one, you just came out of it. And that's what it feels like when you have just decided to change an occupation. The 2nd way is a layoff. That's a hard one. Yes, it is. It is rough because they're saying that, you know what, it's not you, it's us. We want you, but we can't afford you. We're making some cuts. And sometimes those cuts, they come from higher up than the people in your front office. Sometimes the people in your front office are getting cut as well. So a layoff is something that it doesn't sit well with me. I've been through that one as well. And when I got laid off, I had this pseudo hope that one day I would be able to come back. And you start clinging to that, and it is detrimental to your job search. But in my particular situation, yes, they did call me back. And yes, I was ready to come back. But a layoff, when they are telling you you got to go and you are with other people, and we all got laid off, and they say you ain't got to go home. You got to leave here. You got to go. The 3rd way, you're fired. Yeah, I've heard it said so many different ways. Yeah, we're going in a different direction. Or your productivity, the way that you have behaved, it is not conducive with the culture here at the company. I've also heard it said, like I said before, we're going to promote you to customer. They try to make it look like it's a good thing. We're promoting you to customer, making you the number 1 most important person at the building. Yay! You are now a customer. You're free to explore all of the options. You acted like you didn't want to be here in the first place. Now, you ain't got to go home, but you gotta leave here. You gotta leave. Have you heard one of those statements? And if you have, and you have found yourself in a transition period, that is the big thing, that transition period. Because see, when you quit, you can make arrangements. I want to talk to you guys about something really quickly. It's called the 2-week notice. How you feel about it? Drop a comment inside the comment section. Yes, I want to hear how you feel about a 2-week notice. You're giving the job the opportunity to be able to prepare themselves for that transition because they want to be able to train somebody. And most likely, they want you to train that person. They want you to be able to make sure it's a runs as business as usual. Will they afford that to you? Will they afford you the opportunity if you came to them and told them that, you know what, I hear you guys about to have a layoff. Yeah, here's a 2-week notice. We're going to have a layoff in 2 weeks. What about a termination? Will they give you a 2-week notice and say, you better start looking. You better start putting in applications. You better start polishing up your resume. And on side note, your resume should always be polished. Any accolade, any accomplishment that you may have in the workforce, when it happens, go to your resume and put it on there. That way you don't have to remember the dates. But they will not give you that 2 weeks. No, they won't. Yeah, you are what we call ass out. Yeah, get on like you've been spit on, kick rocks and be gone. And that's what they will tell you. And when you do that and you are fired, whoo, it's a feeling that happens. Yes, especially when you like the job. Did you really like it? Did you have an attitude? I did a part about words, attitudes, and behaviors. Your words and your attitudes and your behaviors, they create what is known as your character. Did your character say that you like your job? Well, if it did and they fired you anyway, what was the reason? And I want all of my listeners to know, no matter what state you're in, you've heard of at will, right? At will work. They say we can let you go with reason or without. That's not true. No, they got to have a reason. And trust me, HR will come up with a reason and they will have a conversation with you and they will write it down. And you know what that conversation is called? A documented conversation. And in this documented conversation, what they're showing is a paper trail of behavior so that it will never be any blowback if you choose to know your rights and say, you know what, you just can't get rid of me for no reason. You love me. My last review said I was great. You actually made me employee of the month. How am I terminated? What's my offense? What is the cause of my termination? At will, you can fight that if you're in the right. But if they have something against you, then it is a rightful termination. This is an uncomfortable conversation to have with anyone, but I want to have it with you, cousins. I want to have it with you. To see a layoff, it's a bunch of people, termination, fired, it feels personal. I've had all three. I have quit, I've been laid off, and yes, I have been fired. Yes, I have been fired. And the time that I got fired, you know, I have to say I had it coming. I didn't like the job. I was working for a company that sold Excaliburs. And what that is, it's a fancy looking vehicle, but it has almost like a Chevy engine in it. So I was their detail guy. All I did was wash cars. I'm a youngster. I wash cars, put a nice little Carnauba wax on there, armor all the tires, do the inside and outside. So when they put it on the showroom floor, man, I had it sparkling like a diamond. But I was bored to death of washing those cars. So I would have to work on Saturday and Sunday morning. And at that time, I was a DJ. Yes, I was out there spinning the ones and twos, better known as Cat Daddy in the Mix. And I would be up late at night. Sometimes the party don't stop till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I got to be at work at 6. Well, if the party don't stop until 3, and you as the DJ, you got to unhook all your equipment. You got to make sure you get all your speakers. You got to pack the car. You got to get it to the house. Don't leave it in the car overnight. Make sure you take that in the house so it is secure. I'm talking about 1 hour, hour and a half sleep. And yes, when they fired me, they probably should have. I had an attendance problem. If I was tired, I wouldn't go. Why? Because I made more DJing the last night than I would washing your cars on the Saturday. My wife, love my wife to death. Give a shout out to my beautiful queen, Lakeisha. And she got fired. She told me her story about when she got fired from Target. You want to know how she got fired and why? Come here, cousins. Come here. I'll tell you. Between just us. She was young, and it was one of her first jobs. She was really, really young and really new to the job, and they had what is known as the employee discount, where her family started coming by Target and wanted the employee discount. Her family was coming by, and you know what? One of her relatives was at a different register. She didn't come down her line, was at a different register and wanted the employee discount, and my wife gave it to her, and the next day they gave her the X. Made her available to the rest of the workforce, and your services are no longer needed here. All different kind of ways they can put it. Another time where I quit a job that I should have kept. Do you know friends? Friends can screw you over on your job. I had a job where, man, I had gotten so many people the opportunity to work for this company. The company was a rental car agency. A rental car. And I gave so many people the opportunity to be able to come over there and get some employment. And it happened one time that the rental car agency needed a couple people to move like a couple counties away. And I had a relative over there, my good old cousin, Raji. Shout out to Roger Clark. How you doing, my homie? Yeah, Rod said, come on up, man. Yeah, you can stay the summer with me, sleep on the couch in the living room. He got a 2-bedroom apartment, him and his wife and his 2 kids, And I had my homeboy working at the company, like, I'm going too. So we all go, both of us, we go up there. I had the opportunity to become a manager at a young age. It was a golden opportunity. This gentleman, Earl, flew in from Florida to Southern California, and he had a sit down with me. He said, I think you'll be great because you're young, you're bright, and you're intelligent to be a fleet control manager. You would be the youngest fleet control manager in the company. And I'm like, what does a fleet control manager do? He said, well, you're in charge of ordering new cars. You see what kind of cars are good for this geographic. And so you'll get a new vehicle and drive it hard. Because people who rent out rental cars are not gentle with those cars. Drive it hard. And if you recommend, we'll get 10, 20, 30 of them. And we'll rent them out. And you do that on a regular basis. And also you are controlling how many vehicles we have in stock, which ones have so many miles on it that it's time to send them to an auction and replace them with either a newer model. I was like, I would love to have that job. What young 20-year-old wouldn't? To drive a brand new car all the time? This is my job, to be in a brand new whip? Oh, I lapped that up. I loved it. He said, but what we're going to do is make you the night manager here at the building, at this office here. Make me the night manager. Okay, just want to see your leadership skills. We'll develop you, but I'm telling you that fleet control manager is a better fit for you. I got you in mind for that. Do this job, you will get that job. Wow. I was just flabbergasted. And I went home and I told the homies. I told them what the plan was. Do you know you can talk yourself right out of an opportunity? Running your mouth. Don't talk about what you're going to do. Talk about what you've done. Tell people what you've done after you've done it. Don't tell them what you're going to do. I learned that at a very, very young age because we had to sit down. We were there inside of a boardroom. Earl sat down. Florida. He's from the headquarters. Making a big announcement. Everybody's at the table. And he announces that the homie Muhammad would be the day manager. And he said, and before he can get a word out of his mouth, he said, Muhammad will be the day manager, and the homie stood up, and Terry gonna be on nights. It's on. Earl looked at him like, no, nothing is on. Everything is off, in fact. Everything is pretty much off. There's nothing on. Nothing is on. Yes, we haven't made any decisions other than Muhammad at this point. And I got with him after the meeting. I was like, man, what are you talking about? You bought me dinner. You sat me down. You told me of all the possibilities. Told me I would be great. Told me that this promotion was just a temporary. It was a trial basis, but it was temporary because I was a shoe-in for the big job. He was like, I don't think you're ready. My own folks, my boys, you know, I got him that job. I ain't gonna mention his name. I got him that job. I was so mad, pissed off to the highest level of festivity, burned my biscuits. And I was like, what you say will raise my rent? I'll be damned. You know what I did? Like a fool. I quit my job. I quit my job. Yes, I did. And that is a regret that I have in life because no telling what can happen. You can bounce back, man. When you have these setbacks, okay? A setback, bounce back. But getting fired, it hurts. Walking away from a job when they wanted you to stay also hurts. It may hurt you a little bit, but it hurts the company a lot. These things happen to me, and I just want to say, how do you feel when you are leaving one job into another, depending on the situation, right? Have you ever been fired? How did that make you feel? Were you angry? Were you frustrated? Were you revengeful? You know, did you wish that the whole company would just fall apart? How are they gonna make it without me? Did you have hateful wishes on the company? What about a layoff? What did you do and how did it make you feel on a layoff? I know that when it is a bunch of you leaving, I've told this story about what happened to me on the railroad, and I immediately went out and got a new job, reinvented myself, and started working for California Department of Corrections. And it was a beautiful experience. It had its ups and downs. Yes, it did. But the railroad did call me back and I went back happily. Yes, I did. So that experience for me, it could be different than yours. How do you adapt? There are many, many different situations where a person can be successful. Because see, sometimes things happen for a reason. We may not see the purpose when we're in it. We may not see the forest because it's just too many trees. We don't know. We may have the opportunity to be able to see it later. But when we do, with hindsight being 2020, we can be able to see it then. But when you're in the moment, especially when you are young, yeah, you have your life ahead of you. You think you're going to live forever, right? But there are so many people who have invested decade after decade, put in 10, 20, dare I even say 30 years, or like my father, 40 years on one job. And you told yourself that, well, I'm just going to stick and stay. It's just the type of person I am, type of woman that I am, type of man that I am, when in all actuality, you probably should have quit that job 10, 20 years ago. Because there were greener pastures, there were opportunities abound. My father being a gourmet chef, Italian cuisine, with people lined up. I saw a Facebook post recently of all the glowing reviews of my father's food. And they didn't know who was back there. Didn't know it was a black man back there in that Italian kitchen cooking up that food. They didn't know. But all those compliments, they were talking about my dad. And he could have started up his own restaurant. Yes, he could have. But he stuck and stayed. Do you feel like you're being on a job too long? Do you get antsy after a while? Do you have this feeling inside where, you know what, I feel like there's a change coming? And like I said, change is always coming. Everybody falls into 3 buckets. You fall into one of those 3. If so, then it requires courage. It's okay. The end of a job is not the end of the world. Sometimes it feels like it though, don't it, cousins? Sometimes it feels like it. I want to give you as much leadership development as I possibly can. I want you to be great on the job. I want to show you how to be able to feel like it. With my next podcast I got coming up called Project Resume, we're going to break it down and talk about it. I've already discussed how to behave inside of an interview, and even more so, how to behave after one. But I want to talk about the back end now and let you know how to leave a job. You leave with your head held high. One way or the other, everybody leaves one of 3 ways. Yes, one of 3 ways. You're either fired, laid off, or you quit. Now, if you got promoted out of one part of the building of the company into another part, I don't consider that as leaving. But there is some sad goodbyes there as well, where you have to say goodbye to the people. That's okay. That is not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about you finding your inner peace and you knowing your worth and knowing that it can be greater later, and sometimes some things are standing in the way of your blessings. And I hope this message has blessed somebody today. Yes, I do. I am glad you showed up. And this is your first time, then welcome, cousins. Because I do this for Pops and Fat Mama. Yes, I do this for the spirit. Because I feel like my ancestors are trying to tell me something. I feel like my folks, man, they reaching out for me. And I believe they speak through me with a celestial telekinesis, because I just can't stop these drums from banging in my head. Oh, I feel like we made a kindred spirit. I feel like we go way back like that, crayons and Hot Wheel tracks, like Droopy Diapers and Similar. Yeah, and so in the meantime and in between time, when you see me, just say, hey, cousin, how you doing? And I want you guys to just be nice to each other, be kind to each other, and know that the end of one job is not the end of the world. It's the beginning of something else. Now, could you
hope you like the podcast. And you really like the podcast.
Come on, be serious.
And you really like my podcast. Like and subscribe.